I'm Kyle Barton, and on this 353rd episode of the MWA podcast, Sean Wisniewski and Mark Hicks and myself visit with Austin Waldo, the managing director of the Austin School of Furniture and Design and the creator, producer, coordinator, or grand poobah of the upcoming third annual Texas Woodworking Festival. So welcome back to the show, Austin.
Well, thank you so much. I hopefully no one has a problem with that annual part of the Texas Woodworking Festival, as we kind of skipped a year, but we're excited to be here.
Yeah.
As far as I know, most of the world skipped a year, so it doesn't count.
Exactly.
If the Olympics don't happen, it doesn't matter. It's okay. Everybody else, you're just part of the whole thing. Carry on.
All right. We'll take a pass on that.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well, before we talk to Austin about more things upcoming in this year's Texas Woodworking Festival, let's hit the woodworking news. So first up, and this came out as we record, I think yesterday, is Lost Art Press has finally published the Make a Chair from a Tree book. It's the third edition, and it's the one that they were working with Jeannie Alexander when she unfortunately passed away, but everyone rallied and they finally got this book to market. I know it's been a process for them to get this book to market, but I'm very excited that it's here. I've ordered my copy, and you can go ahead and order a copy right now through July 22nd. If you order a copy, you also get the PDF. The book's not going to ship for probably another few weeks, but you automatically get that PDF as soon as you order it. So if you're dying to check it out, you can go ahead and start on the PDF and finish up the book when it arrives in a couple of weeks.
There you go. I knew that title rung a bell. I knew. Mm-hmm. I didn't track the production of it, but I'm glad it's finally out. I think it's been bouncing around for a couple of years. I know.
Yeah. I mean, it's a book that started all the green woodworking back in the day. I think the first edition was published in late 70s, 78, it says here. So.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I think he's been working on getting this republished since I started my business.
Yeah, I want to say.
Like his very first Instagram post was sitting in an airplane with a copy of that contract in his lap, or the second Instagram post or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that what I think it is? Because it's hard to find those old copies.
Yeah, I tried to find one and just couldn't find one at a decent price. I did buy the video. That's a very interesting video. I got a couple of great ideas from it. So it'll be interesting to see the book, because apparently a lot of the techniques and things have been streamlined and changed a bit, so should make for a good read. So next up, the Wood Whisperers Sander Deathman. He didn't call it that. I'm calling it that. That was his long-awaited review of the Festool sander versus the Mirka sander, and I find it kind of interesting. So that's out there on his YouTube channel. And also at his site, woodwhisper.com. So check that out. I found that very interesting. I don't know if y'all have had a chance to look at it yet.
I have not. I'm wondering, is he currently sponsored by either Mirka or Festool?
Nope. He's not.
Okay.
He's not sponsored by Festool. He hadn't been sponsored by Festool.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And yeah, he went out and he bought this Mirka. So.
Okay.
Is there a conclusion to that video, or just a really good informational, here's the two products?
Yeah, there's a lot of good information. I think it all boils down to is they're fairly equal. The Mirka, if you come from that background, I know they're big and, automotive sand. And if you like the fit and function of that tool, it's just as good as the Festool and vice versa. But I think the Festool did have some teething pains, because I think they had to do a recall on their sanders because of some sort of switch that wasn't working right. But I think that's fixed in all the new ones. And, I've seen some people said, hey, the customer service wasn't great on this because, they'd ship the sander off and it would be a few weeks, like 4 to 6 before they got it back. So they're kind of without a sander until it comes back, So I think there were they definitely did not impress a lot of people with their customer service on that. But I think.
Are they both battery powered?
Yeah. Well, they're both plug-ins.
Brushless plug-ins.
Yeah.
I feel like I have one of those, but maybe not.
Yeah, I have a couple of Festival sanders, but this is their new low profile.
It's more like a pneumatic style. That's what the Mirka one was. Yeah. So it's the switch is under your palm when you're holding it.
Yeah.
And it's that style. I've liked the Mirka since that first one that came out. Hell, geez, it had to be 5+ years ago.
Yeah. It's been
I was seeing that flying around. I was really intrigued by it. I never actually held one in my hand, but I don't know. I mean, they're supposed to be good because I don't know. Is it just the usability or is it the power? Or
I think they're this. From what I gathered and from what Mark presented, is they're really close. It's just whether you like the ergonomics one versus the other. He tended to lean, I think, towards the Festival because that's what he had been using, and the Mirka with that little paddle switch on the back of it. He's used to flipping a sander upside down to change a sanding disc. So if you do that, you hit that paddle and the sander comes on. So you
unplug your tool if you're ever working on it.
Well, yeah. True. That I'm sure that's Marcus' response. Yeah,
like we always do.
Yep, always when I'm changing blades on my saws and.
Yeah, I didn't change a jigsaw blade just yesterday. Yeah. No, plugged in.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I try to be very vigilant about that, but I don't know, I'll catch myself every once in a while, which probably means a month, change my table saw blade and go, oh, yeah, this is still plugged in and on.
Yeah. The big stuff, I get it. It's something as innocuous as sandpaper. I don't know that you're always going to be that careful, but definitely a problem. Yeah, if the switch is on top and you flip it over to push down on that hook and loop, attachment, that is something to think about. But they probably have a write up on how to do it properly and hold it or just unplug it.
Yeah.
We had a whole fleet of those sanders, the air powered ones, in the furniture company, and I guess if you're used to flipping it over, it would be a switch, but it didn't take me any time at all to kind of, get used to that. You just hold it vertically in your hand and peel the two apart and then stick the next one on. And we used a lot of adhesive paper, so you learn to press on the ring at the bottom instead of the top of the sander to keep the switch from going off. But yeah, it's I suppose it would be a little different.
Yeah, but I'm if you're used to working with those pneumatic sanders, I'm sure this electrified Mirka would fit right in. Yeah. So next up is Woodpeckers, believe it or not, has a new tool out. Can you believe it? It's been like a week or two. But this one's this is one that is a great idea, but I got a few problems with it. But it is the Exact 90 miter gauge, which is exactly what it sounds. It's a miter gauge that's locked at exact 90, so you get a square cut no matter what.
Assuming.
I guess there's a setup thing. Yeah, and once you get it set up, it's locked and it's there forever. I do like the fence extends out along what it was. Let me read here. But I think it was somewhere up to
25.5-inch miter bar.
Yeah, well, yeah, but then it extends out.
Fence with extension, sacrificial, flip stop. I want to
say it's like 45 inches. Yeah,
go out. That's huge.
45 inches is huge.
The top half of a cabinet.
Yeah, that's true.
And is it graduated the whole way?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's kind of nice, but it's still at their introductory price is $270 and it's $300. After the introductory, you're pretty close to that Incra 5000 when you get up to there. And then on the other hand, when I make 90-degree cross cuts on my table saw, I just put my sled on and go.
Yeah, Mark might have hit it though. Cabinets. If you have a cut station that does nothing but cut rectangles, and you can just set it and rip a whole set of them, boom, 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 guaranteed. That's a production tool. It's not.
Yeah, and this may be geared for more of the production folks and the hobbyist folks too. But yeah, I do. I have one of those Incra miter gauges. I forgot what it was. It's not the big fancy. It's the junior fancy one, but. Yeah, it's always at 90 degrees when you need it, but I just don't my miter gauge that often. And, I use a sled and, then if I do have to make some sort of actual mitered cut, that's when I bring it out. But, yeah.
I mean, I always check mine for square anyways, so, I have zero trust when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Right.
So does this thing have adjustability at first, where you could even buy two of these and you have your 90 degree and your 45 degree?
Not that much adjustability. No. It's like a half a degree or a degree of to dial it in exactly to 90 for your miter slot.
Right. Okay.
So if your trunnions aren't quite square, or well, I guess that would affect the cut performance as well, but or not.
It's like it has a thing on the handle flats on the handle too. It says to let you lock the head securely once dialed in. So you dial this thing into the fractions of a degree that it might be different until it's a perfect 90, and you actually, it looks like you use the handle to lock it in place.
So, yeah, there's like an Allen key that adjusts it, and
it's almost like the throat or the plate that slides in the miter slot is the tune. You know, yes. that thing sways one way or the other to make sure it's running straight through the table, and then you're done. So yeah, nothing, no 45 unless, I mean, it is aluminum. You could probably hack it. But then you take all the precision away, out of all the woodpeckerisms.
Well, you could make your own fancy.
Oh, sure.
Exact 40.
Honestly,
that's coming out next is the exact 45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the exact 22 and a half.
Exactly.
It's a T-slot. You could adapt something on top of the front of it and make it a 45. Using its base as 90. That's like the start of anything.
Make a wedge to fit in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you could exactly do that. I did that last week on my shooting board. So anyway.
We said hand tools.
Yeah. So it is. I think Sean, you hit it right. This would be great in a production environment. You're just doing this all day long at 90 degrees. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, I feel like somebody's probably already got a sled for that. They stilt a sled, but who knows? Maybe that's a little smaller.
That's the go-to first thing that if you're going to build a jig for your table saw, it's going to be a sled that rides in both of the rails, and you cut right to the blade because your blade's already set up. Mm-hmm. And now you have a fence on there that hopefully is holding it at 90, and maybe. But I mean, that's the thing. I to this point, I don't use a table saw often, but I've never used a miter sled. If I'm doing a 90-degree cut, I'm probably not doing a cross cut on the table saw unless it's too big for a miter saw.
Chop saw.
Yeah. I've got a 12-inch sliding miter saw. I can get a pretty wide board in there. So it all depends on what you're using it for. Again, I couldn't make a cabinet. Cabinet, is definitely a big piece on the table. But I've always trusted the fence. When I can set the fence enough, I just slide it and have it cut on the outside. The operation of cutting where the waste piece is between the blade and the well, in this case, if you've got it set right, you don't need the fence. But yeah, I kind of shy away from that and try to cut on one side so that the waste is falling away and the fence, is well on the side.
Yeah. Well, even with this, you're limited in capacity between, the miter gauge fence and the start of the saw blade, depending on your saw. That varies, but
exactly. I
mean, it's usually not more than 10 inches tops.
Yeah.
Even on the big tabled one.
So this is for face frame parts for cabinets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What would be nice, if nothing else, is if you could flip it around, and maybe you can slide the fence one way or the other.
Yeah, you can.
Because left or right side of the blade, because your table's got more on one side than the other, depending on what you're doing. That's where it's useful. But most saws, if you're seeing as I see it, where there's less room on the left of the blade going through, it's common. I think it's a common table saw. You're not going to be hanging a board off the edge of the saw trying to cut it square. Only being on a foot of the table.
Well, he's talking about the distance between the front of the blade and the fence.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Because you can only pull it back so far before it falls out of the table.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The T-slot.
It is. It's for cross-cutting mainly, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not. And
cross-cutting plywood, would
you're
be sides
limited
of cabinets.
Yeah.
Right. That's when
you couldn't do a base cabinet with it. You'd have to use it just for the tops.
Right.
So, solid cabinets.
Yeah.
Bookcases.
Yeah, I think that's why you see some folks that build these huge cross-cut sleds so that they get the maximum room in front of the blade to cut wider panels. And those things, but they end up weighing 100 pounds. At least they look like it.
Yeah, you gotta tip it up like some sort of wing. onto the table. Exactly. Slide it. You're standing. You have to turn on the saw and then apply the thing to the saw.
Yeah.
Because you can't possibly reach the power when you have it attached kind of.
You just crawl under there and turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Done that before.
That's safe.
Yeah.
Well, you're under the blade. You're good.
Anyway, but if you're doing production environment, and you want one of these, check out woodpeckers.com, or I think it's actually woodpeck.com, and you can check it out there. But some woodpeckers kind of hit and miss sometimes. I admire their, their innovativeness. Just sometimes it doesn't strike me, but they probably have better marketing research than I do, and there's probably a market out there for this.
I think the research says that if there's a new tool, people will try to buy it.
That could be it too.
Yeah. Especially if it's branded and it's all one color, and
yes,
that's what I've noticed.
Mm-hmm. And you may be right on that. So. Anyway, but I just thought it was kind of interesting that this is something it's not a one-time tool. It's a long-term
it's a standard,
production.
Huh?
Yeah. So with that, Sean, do we have a Patreon shout-out for this episode?
We sure do. A big thanks as always to our patron supporters. Today we're going to give a big shout-out to Nick Carruthers. He's out there helping us out on Patreon. If you would like to support us, that is, we are the MWA Podcast. Go to patreon.com/MWA Podcast.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I think, what is he, the Grain Doctor, I believe, on the YouTube and Instagram, if memory serves me right.
That's distinctly possible.
Yeah, so thanks, Nick. And anyway, I also want to give a big thanks to all of our Patreons. We did a post out there about upcoming guests, and a bunch of people responded, and I want to thank them for responding, and we got those folks lined up, or getting them lined up as we...
Heck yeah, that's really cool to see. Yeah. I love hearing from listeners and what they want to see or hear, really. And that helps us out because scheduling can kind of be a bear at times. It's hard to always think of these things, but we have a team of people, our enthusiastic listeners helping us out, who they want to hear from. Absolutely. Get on there and add.
And to give you a little sneak peek, we have Jeff Miller coming. So with that, Mark, what's in the shop for you?
Any guesses?
Shave horses?
Shave horses, yes, shave horses. I made the last part today for each of the shave horses, which is the wedges that go in the to hold everything together. So tomorrow I get to start breaking them down and doing all of the, smooth this, chamfer that, wrap it in bubble wrap. I hope to have at least half of them packed by the end of the day tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. But all the parts are made. That's
where you run around them with an iron and a wet rag.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah. There's this time around. So when I'm making benches, I leave every single surface not complete, not finish, like finished plain. Like I leave it as a rough surface, quote unquote, for as long as I possibly can, in case I need to steam a dent out or whatever. And but I haven't done that with the shave horses for some reason. I'm not really sure. So this time around, I left everything. I did as little finishing work as I could to avoid having to deal with shop rash. And so there's going to be a little more work on the back end to pack them up than there normally would be, but hopefully this, it goes pretty easily.
Well, I tell you posted today about one of the seats for the shave horse, and man, you did some beautiful work there.
I did use sandpaper at the end, but it's not a Windsor chair.
Right.
And it's silver maple, so the grain doesn't behave like that white pine does. And there's
no.
When you scrape and then burnish that white pine, man, there's nothing like it. But I think with the silver maple, you can just sand it. I mean, I shape it, I scrape it, I sand it. So thank you for the compliment, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't take compliments, so
that's right.
I'm trying, Kyle. I'm trying.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful. Those are nice, crisp lines, and and it looks comfy. That's the most important part.
Let's hope so.
Yes.
A lot of time you got to spend in those seats.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Sean, what are you working on?
I got a few things going on, including a bathroom remodel right in time with we're hosting our son's graduation party in 2 days. So great to combine projects like that. I think it's the best way.
Yeah, so you get porta potties brought in for the party?
Sorry, what'd you say, Kyle?
Are you renting porta potties for the party then?
No, we're not. That was thought of, but no. It's not terrible. It's a click together laminate floor on top of linoleum. That's not the worst, although taking out the vanity and the toilet for that was a major pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And then a week later, starting on, there's like a half wall, kind of like like a wainscot kind of wall, that my wife wanted to do shiplap. So taking the vanity out again to do that, like I've gotten really good at taking the vanity out. But it's like every day, just limited hours, or it's, nice that the days are long and the weather's decent, because last night it was like, oh my God, it's 9 o'clock and I haven't sat down yet, kind of thing. And it's, today it was, okay, I've cut all the trim. Can we paint the revealed edges of the trim before I nail them on? Now I set the nails. Now I got to fill the holes and do all this. It's just tedious as hell. But anyway, the bathroom looks a lot better already, and so that's a plus.
It's functional then.
It's totally functional. Functional. I only had to shut the water off for about 4 hours
to
the house. Yeah. It's one bathroom in the house, and so my sons used the outdoor tree toilet a few times during that. But otherwise, yeah, it's coming good. But I actually, kind of funny, because we were talking about power tools, and I don't use power tools a lot, but the bottom boards of this shiplap had to be trimmed along their length, because I'm not running it vertically, I'm running it horizontally. And I wasn't about to do that by hand. It's whatever, I'm not that good with a jigsaw. I didn't want to take my circular saw to it because it's a little messy for what I wanted the cut to be. But I've got my dad's old table saw, and it's an old Ryobi table saw, and it doesn't adjust much well, and the blade is junk in it. But I did have to use that thing. And power tools are just so damn messy. I really, really don't like them. I realize why I got into hand tools so much. It's just because I'm just covered in dust when I'm using these things. And yes, I mean, it's like outside. I pulled it out of the garage to use it. It's not down in my shop. I don't have dust collection set up for it. But
well, I think that Ryobi, wasn't that in that lawsuit about table saw safety?
Probably,
yeah. I think
it has like the blade height and bevel adjustment is on like a pull. So you pull something out at the base of the adjustment wheel to like engage one or the other, and I can't get it to actually cut perfectly perpendicular. But it doesn't, for like the total use case. I'm putting this against a floor, actually floating it a 1/4 inch off the floor, so I'm good. Like I don't have to. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I would never do anything good with this thing until I could figure it out. And I've taken that whole mechanism apart, and I just don't get it.
I bought a Ryobi table saw, 20 years ago from the big box, and it had plastic mounts for the motor, and one of them was broken right out of the box. And so I took it back. I said, I'm done with Ryobi tools.
Yeah, I mean, my God, this thing has to be 30-ish years old, maybe a little more than that. And I mean, I know for sure my dad he's got his Powermatic that he got in 2001. So he's had that for 20 some years. I know, this thing actually sat in the back of his shop for decades before he said, I'm cleaning up. Do you want this? I said, sure. So I tuck it in the corner of my garage and rarely ever use it. But, it's fine. I need to get a better blade for it and figure out how to just lock it in, and it should be good. But whatever. It worked for what it was needed for. Because, as I stated, I'm really not good with a jigsaw. I don't know why. I just can't. Either I'm not feeding it slow enough, or I'm pushing it too hard, or my eye line isn't right. But I have the hardest time following a line.
Well, that's what shoe mold is for.
But and I just installed that tonight. And being a former Finnish carpenter, I didn't use jigsaw a bunch, but I can cope with shoe mold, and it's tight. It's beautiful. Great.
Good job.
But I mean, that was it. I mean, I know how to hide the sins when needed.
Yeah, I've noticed there's a big difference between an inexpensive jigsaw and an expensive one. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, this is
your enjoyment of it.
I've got a good Bosch one. It's just it doesn't have a clear sole. It's whatever. It's one of the higher powered ones. And I've got really good blades. They're making really clean cuts. And what my chief thing was, like, I was cutting out for like the water valves and things like that. And so I'm cutting like these U shapes out of the way where the pieces are coming in. And it was just like, I'm just not good at it. I'll own up to it. It's just like golf. If I don't do it more, I won't get better.
Right.
And I use that tool once every 2 to 3 years. It's just not something I'm well versed at.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Yeah, I got one of those Bosch jigsaws myself, and it's been a good 9 months since I pulled that thing out to use it for anything. And the most times I use it I don't even use it that often for that, is to, cut rough lumber down. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I have it for times I need it. And something like that, if I just had to like cross-cut something, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I'd half want the battery-operated one for that. I could go to the big box store, and just cut crap in half to fit in my car.
Mm-hmm.
It would save the eyes that watch me. It's kind of funny, but last year when I built the shed, I was getting stuff, and it's cheaper. It's always cheaper to buy twice as long per foot. So I'm getting 16 footers because I only need 8. But I went on, they were treated boards. I was at Menards, and I locked them in the handles of a stairwell and had my handsaw out and just chopping them in half. My son got to deal with all the guys walking by looking at me. But I'm comfortable doing that. I can cut a straight line with a handsaw. That's fine.
Are you talking about the stairs inside the Menards,
in their covered outdoor lumber shed? They're big metal. Yeah, I mean, it's just like
the upstairs section.
Yeah, it's like this big like looped stairwell handrail, and I just literally slid it between the two and cut off so that I had 2 points of support on it.
Yeah.
Nice.
And just I mean, it worked. I made short work of it because I only had to cut it, one cut for like 10 boards or something. But they all got in the car, and I didn't have to put a red flag on the back of it or tie it down.
There you go. That's creativity.
There you go.
There, exactly.
So Kyle,
yes.
After my tales, what are you working on?
Orders.
Orders and orders.
Yes.
Parts and pieces and orders.
So I think last episode I said we were about to announce this, and we did. So I did announce the spindle drilling guide along with Pete Galbert and bow drilling jig. I worked with Pete on helping him develop the bow drilling jig, and with that I had the idea for my spindle drilling guide, and I tried to make the names opposite as possible so they're easy to tell the difference. But we released those I want to say almost a month ago. The bow drilling jig is a user-made jig, and you can go to Pete Galbert's website, petergalbert.com, and you can get the plans there. It's kind of a pay what you can type thing, and you get the plans and instructions and a nice little video by yours truly on how to actually make the guide and use it. So you can go there and get that. And then, like I said, I did my spindle drilling guide, which I've talked a lot about on the show. And I want to thank everyone for the overwhelming response. So yes, I got all kinds of orders, and then I also got on top of that orders for my other jigs. So it kind of spurred an order for that and wiped out my inventory of stretcher jigs and boring jigs. So it's a stressful time right now at the old Barton shop, but we're getting it done. I'm sure Mark relates more than most folks would, but it's just like, golly, I got all this stuff, and then with the pandemic, the supply chain issues regarding the pandemic taking longer to get stuff in, and I think I've talked about that before, but that continues. So I think it was, as we're recording this, 2 days ago that I finally got everything in to build the spindle drilling guides that I needed. So they're rapidly coming together, and I have these. What's really interesting is I have these little wooden blocks that are part of the spindle drilling guide, kind of a riser block, as I would call it. And so these are made out of maple, and of course there's a lot of end grain. Why do I deal with maple and end grain? I don't know, but it's one of those things.
You got to switch to cherry. Cherry is just so nice to.
Yeah, but
it's about the same price too.
Yeah. But I want something tough for these riser blocks, but cherry would probably work just. Maybe I should try that. But anyway, so I was like, okay, I'm dealing with all this end grain. Finally dawned on me, hey, I have a new use for my number 51 shooting board plane. So I was able to dust that off and put it to some good use. That was actually pretty fun to do. It wasn't quite as bad. It's still end grain maple, but hey, it is what it is. And then I guess the only other thing that I think I have raised on the show before, but I would invest in a good set of setup blocks. Just a helpful hint here, especially 1, 2, 3 blocks and the graduated, whether it be the little brass bars, or you can get, I think Woodpecker sells some aluminum bars or whatever. But as my eyesight gets more challenged, setup blocks are a godsend. I use them for marking anything under 2 inches. If I got to mark something on a board, man, I just throw some setup blocks and boom, there you go. And
good idea.
It's a lot better than getting out my trusty bifocal safety glasses, marking them. But anyway, so I was thinking about that. I go, I need to raise that up on the podcast. But I think 1, 2, 3 blocks are invaluable for all kinds of marking parts or setting up machinery or making sure things are square. And a good set of 1, 2, 3 blocks is $20 to $30. I mean, you can buy them much more expensive than that, but for woodworking, $20 or $30 and you're golden. So anyway, just a helpful hint from me.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's essentially like, I love relative dimensioning.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather put a thing where it needs to go and mark exactly where it needs to be cut. And 1, 2, 3 essentially can do that for you. You set it up and done. I'm not measuring anymore. Perfect.
Yeah. Or if you need 2 pieces and you need to line them up perfectly next to each other, just butt them both into a 1, 2, 3 block. They're exactly. You don't have to worry about putting your finger there. Hey, are these even? No, they are even. And so I use it all the time for stuff like that. It's amazing once you have a set of those and what you can do with them, either alone or in combination with each other. It's pretty good. But with that said, so Austin, what are you working on?
Yeah, basically the end of one large project and the beginning of a new one.
All right.
So I just finished a 5-piece outdoor patio set out of bald cypress.
Fantastic. Wow. Did you have fun working with that cypress?
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I had to work around a couple knots, but otherwise it was pretty clear. And it was pretty nice to work with. It can be a little
stringy.
Flaky in a lot of ways, and some of the cathedral grain especially.
Yeah.
But I had enough to work with that it wasn't too bad of an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've worked with cypress a little, and you get used to working with it. But the first couple of times I go, boy, this stuff's kind of stringy, and it's lightweight, and it dents so easily. At least the stuff I have is just And talking about running around a project, as I was giving Mark a hard time about with the iron and a wet rag. I mean, it's like after every cut, okay, I got to steam this dent out, got to steam this one out.
Yeah, find a lot of circles at the end on parts at the end of the job.
Yeah.
What was interesting with this project in particular, how it was designed incorporated a lot of screws, and so I did a lot of plugs, and I had to select the scrap wood for the plugs very carefully, not only aesthetically, but for the grain, because the plug cutters would just tear apart the cypress. They're just not really that sharp.
Yeah.
They're spinning across the grain, and they would just rip the plugs up to a point where they're not really that helpful to plug a hole.
So it's like one of those things you got to cut 3 plugs to get one good one.
Yeah. Cut a lot more than you need.
Yeah. Well, cool. So, where's this furniture set going to reside at? Is it at your place or is it for somebody?
It is technically for someone.
Okay.
It's a very So this is part of a set of furniture plans that Rockler is going to sell.
Oh, okay.
So
great.
I am taking the furniture to someone, and I have no idea what they'll actually do with it. Mm-hmm. So in a way, the furniture is a prototype. It's to double check measurements in the plans, and of course to photograph along the way. Mm-hmm. So I hope that it gets utilized, but I don't know what they're going to do with the actual furniture.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then that's always something. Who was it? We've talked to both Curtis and Jeff Lithkowitz, and they work a lot doing plans and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, Curtis will ship him a chair, and he'll do plans and ship the plans back to Curtis, and then Curtis has to build a chair based on the plans he received. Then they go back and forth making adjustments. So yeah, that can be that can be tricky.
Yeah. Luckily there wasn't too much modification, but
yeah.
The seat depth on one of these ended up being a bit uncomfortable for my wife. And so I'm pretty average height. She's slightly shorter than me, and we found that it was a bit uncomfortable for her. So we ended up changing the dimensions based on the usability of vertically challenged individuals. And so making it a little bit shorter, much more comfortable that way.
Well, fantastic. Well, I might have to. It was it's got to be 9 months ago or something. But a friend of mine's father passed away, and he had built these Adirondack chairs that everyone cherished. They wanted to give one to a neighbor that helped look after her father before he passed away, so they didn't have one because all the kids wanted the existing ones. So she asked me to build an exact copy, and I did, out of Cypress, by the way. The originals were in redwood, but it was just too expensive to do it in redwood, so we did it out of Cypress. But yeah, I built the exact copy, and it is a comfortable Adirondack chair, but it is hard to get into and out of.
Yeah.
And I'm shorter than, I'm like 5'9", and even for me, it was a little bit hard to get into and out of, but they were comfy. But anyway, all right, so I can relate how that works.
Yeah, and that's just part of the prototyping process is to make it and see how it feels.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Texas Woodworking Festival. Yeah. So, Austin, you are the grand poobah, as I said earlier, of the Texas Woodworking Festival. So, tell us about what's going on. Now, I know you had to cancel it not once but twice. So, over the last, I guess, year and a half. But we're all set for Labor Day weekend, correct?
Yeah. September 4th coming up. So we can call it maybe the third usually annual Texas Woodworking Festival.
Sort of annual.
Sort of annual. Yeah, this will be the third time. And, as part of the time that you all came down in that 2019 event, with how packed it was, I think everybody there realized that there was, we have something here. We need to go big next year. So we went pretty big, and of course, planning for an event, and then 2020 coming along threw a wrench into all of that. But we're kind of just carried that event on over to 2021. So if there is anybody out there listening that has tickets from 2020, those are still valid. Those will still work just fine. We're honoring all those, and a lot of the vendors came over, but we have a whole bunch of new ones that we're really, really excited about.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, let's get into those. But before we do that, let's verify the date. So it's September 4th. It's a one-day show. What's the times on that?
Be 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay. And where's it actually going to be? So we moved the location where we're not in a tin box with the thunderstorm of all thunderstorms raining down on us.
Well, we'll be in a different season, so hopefully that.
We need some commemorative T-shirts for that event.
I survived the Texas Woodworking Show storm of 2019 or whatever it was.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, I have actually thought about doing some sort of commemorative pins for each year. Especially if you came to the first one, which was technically a different name.
Yes.
That's kind of the veteran event.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm a veteran then. Wow. That's
there
great.
You go. How we verify that people attended that, I'm not exactly sure, but we can go by the honor system.
Yeah. Well, Just ask them a little bit about the location.
Sure. Yeah. And so Fair Market is the new event venue. So it's actually an event venue, and that is on East 5th Street. So just east of downtown. So plenty of hotels, lots of parking garages, parking lots that people can park into, and it's a very walkable location. So great downtown location. It is going to be both indoor and outdoor, which will be a little bit different. So it's about 12,000 square feet inside and about 10,000 square feet outside.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is much bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, and the prior location being at Splinter Group was great for the time, but all those woodworking tools that were in there, we really didn't have that much square footage for the actual event. So this is about 6 times more square footage.
Yeah.
Should be plenty.
Yeah, and and tickets are it's kind of like a pay what you can, but I think your $30 is suggested price. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I can even speak a little bit to kind of the reasoning behind that of those who may not be familiar with the event. The Texas Woodworking Festival, in its simplest form, is a fundraiser for the Austin School of Furniture. So we started it as a joint woodworking meetup group, and people started asking if, hey, can this lumberyard come? Hey, can this other company come? And so then we kind of had a smaller event that ended up being one in, one out of this brewery that we rented. And so we had an event, we rebranded, we made another event, and at that point it was let's see if we can get the Texas woodworking community together. So still very much focused on a local community, and that went great. And so now it's this real big event that we brought everybody together, and it was a lot of fun. Okay, so we have a community event and we have a fundraiser, and that is kind of what the Texas Woodworking Festival is all about. Having a community that's here in Texas, but we invite exhibitors from all over the place. You don't have to be from Texas to come, of course, but the kind of meaning behind it is creating community and then helping to raise a little bit of money for the Austin School of Furniture. So in the tickets, that means we allow you to pick how much you want to pay. There's a suggested price, which is $20, or at least that's the minimum, what the cost of the ticket is. But if you have the ability to pay $5 more, $10 more, however much more you'd like to pay, that goes directly to the school and helps us keep training furniture makers.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I have a couple of buddies that are actually flying in from out of state, from the East Coast, actually, a couple of folks that I know of. So, I think it's going to be a fun time. So,
yeah, there's new people coming. It's going to be a much different feeling of a venue. We'll have a lot more room to breathe, and hopefully it won't be flooding.
Yeah. Yes. Hopefully so. No guarantees in Texas about the weather, but hey, you had, I don't know how many hundreds of people, probably somewhere around the 700, 800 folks that came in a thunderstorm last time. So yeah.
I was quite surprised that many people came with that type of weather. Yeah, it was about 709.
Wow. Yeah, that's just incredible. Now, about the Texas Woodworking Festival, so what's going to be a little different this year from past years is you actually are going to have some presentations during the festival. So tell us a little bit about who's doing that.
Yeah, we're definitely going to try. So we have a main stage set up, and we're working on the kind of AV component of that. But the presentations that we have set up currently, we're going to have 4 throughout the day. And so there'll be a schedule, and we'll make announcements. And all of those people also have tables at the event, so you, of course, can talk to them in between the different sessions. But the first is Trent Pressler. So of Pressler Woodshop, he does the amazing canoes.
Yes.
Then most recently has put out a book. And he'll be doing a small reading of the book and a Q&A, and then of course throughout the day we'll be talking about woodworking and signing the book as well.
Yeah, and if y'all don't know, he was actually on CBS this morning, the Sunday morning show on this past Father's Day, talking about the book, and because I think the book relates a lot to his relationship with his father and stuff. So yeah, it was a kind of interesting little interview. And if you go online, YouTube, you can see it because it was early Sunday morning. I don't get up that early on Sunday mornings, but I was able to go to YouTube. It's it's like 5-6 minutes, something like that. But yeah, so if when you hear this, go out there because I don't know how long CBS keeps that stuff up, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then after him will be Frank Straza, of course, showing us some amazing dovetail techniques.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and he's going to have a booth there again this time, and you can pretty much hang out all day at Frank's booth.
Yeah, that was one of the time he was there was actually a complaint that we got was that there were too many people around Frank's table and that they didn't get a chance to see him cut dovetails. Like, okay, I will accept that. That is a good complaint. So let's put him on the stage where everybody can see him.
Exactly.
And have him show us some cool stuff.
Yeah. He is an entertainer at those shows, I tell you. He's such a nice guy.
Yeah. And it was so funny, both for that event and then the Lee Nelson event, not because he's procrastinating in any way, but it always seems like he's the last person to pack up his stuff because there's just, okay, now the attendees are gone, all the exhibitors are coming to his table. Like, hey, I saw you making those dovetails. Can you show me your technique on this and that? And before you know it, everybody's sitting down at the donkey cutting some marquetry or some dovetails. And yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah. He's I don't know how you would describe it. Maybe a low-key Texas version of Roy Underhill. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, we just got to get him. I mean, I guess they do both wear hats from time to time. They have that same style.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I think they both just relish showing folks, and especially new folks to woodworking, how to do these things, and especially the hand tool method. Just fantastic.
Yeah, and I haven't met Roy Underhill, but Frank is just a great guy as well, which makes things better.
Yeah. Roy's a little bit, like I said, he's our low-key Texas, and Roy's a little bit more
boisterous,
flamboyant, I would say.
Two good words: boisterous and flamboyant. Yes.
Yeah.
He has a certain delivery that makes people listen to him.
Yes. Okay. And you always want to look engaged. And if he asks for volunteers, never volunteer for Roy.
Yes.
Good to know.
Yes. Just don't volunteer. Yeah. No. But anyway, so who else do we have?
Yeah. We have Shaper coming all the way from California, and they're going to be showing off the Shaper Origin. So they'll just do a kind of a quick demonstration of the Shaper Origin and some of the cool things you can do with it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do, and I think for a lot of people they've seen tons of videos of the Shaper, but this will be a great way to get up close and personal.
Yeah, I'd like to do that too, because it looks like a fascinating tool, and I'm always curious about this. Looks like this sheet of dominoes they have out in front of it. So I know that has to do something with positioning and making sure it knows where it is on a particular board, but that would be interesting to know, because I've looked at that a couple of times and going, I could use that for this and this. And
it is a brilliant machine. I mean, it's just really smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then last but possibly least, Philip Morley.
Philip who?
Just kidding.
Did you say it was Morley? Morley, was that the right word? Philip Morley. Is he a woodworker? Have I heard of him?
He's dabbled. He only does epoxy river tables.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's right. The river table guy. Yeah, now I know.
Hopefully he doesn't listen to this episode, but Phil is going to be doing a really fun demonstration about the L fence and how to utilize that.
All right. Fantastic.
The L tomato.
Is it the L tomato fence?
Yeah.
L tomato.
All right, fantastic. Do you know if Ben's coming down? Because I think last time he made like the decision the night before and drove all the way down.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if Ben is coming, but okay. I know that Ramon is coming. So the other part of the podcast will be here.
Oh, okay. Well, fantastic. Yeah, we had Ramon on a few months ago, so I'm sure we'll be able to talk to them while we're there. So that will be great.
Yeah.
Because last time we talked to Philip and Ben, but yeah, it'd be great to talk to Ramon. And I don't think I have ever met Ramon in person. I don't think so. I think I would probably remember if I did.
Yeah, this will be my first time meeting him as well in person because we had him teach an online class, but we haven't been able to do anything in person quite yet.
Well, that's great. That's fantastic. So talking about that who, he's going to be there, and you said all these presenters are also going to have a table. So who are some of the other exhibitors that are going to be there?
Yeah, there is about 42 exhibitors.
Wow.
We are sold out on the tables and booths, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And a few of them have 2 booths, so the larger setups, and some have some of the smaller table spaces.
Mm-hmm.
But, anything from a large machine company like Felder to some small individual woodworking shops that may make things out of wood, may make products for woodworkers, lumber, of course, and then there's lots of folks related to tools. So a little bit of everything, but, we have some standout ones with lots of lumber yards, then some furniture makers. We have a gentleman that makes some really interesting wooden speaker cases and speaker setups and things of that nature that he's going to be showing off.
Oh, cool.
Of course, some of the hand tool folks, both old like Dowd's tools and new, some of the hand tools that Leslie Webb sells at Heartwood Tools. She'll be there. And, of course, Lee Nelson will also be there. And then some of the machines. There's Shaper, as I mentioned, Panther Router, Texas Toolcraft, which sells SawStop and Festool, and all kinds of folks that will be there. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and there's going to be some guy that makes benches, I think.
Oh,
Plate 11?
Just a little boutique.
Yeah.
And teaches class. I'm going to be there promoting the workbench classes, the at-home remote workbench classes, and also maybe meeting some people who, if we can get a class down in Austin at some point,
for sure,
who might be interested in doing that. So. And I recruited Hamilton Tools too. Did he get his booth all signed up?
Yes.
Good.
Oh, fantastic! So, it'd be great to see him. Yeah.
And he sells tools through Heartwood Tools too. So
nice.
Yep. I see him right there on the exhibitor and vendor site there. Fantastic. Our page, should I say? Now, now us, the MWA podcast, we'll have a little area, and we're going to be, I don't know if broadcasting live is the right thing, but we will be recording live some goings on. So we'll have to have a bunch of these folks that have booths and some attendees come by. So if you are a fan of the show and you're there, please stop by our area and say hi. And if you can't get into that area because we're recording at the particular time, then stop by Plate 11 Woodworking's booth and say hi to Mark. And I'll probably be there too.
I think breaks. Austin's got us like right across the aisle from each other. So
yeah, I think so too.
You should be able to see one from the other.
Right. Right. Yeah, I haven't seen the final setup yet, but yeah, I think we were right around the corner, or like you said, right across from the last I saw. That's going to be great. And there's going to be so many folks there. Dowd Tools, I mean, that is the premier antique tool vendor in Texas, and I still don't know how he gets all of them at such reasonable price. So Mark, be prepared to bring your
I'm
credit
looking
card
forward
with you.
To picking through Dowd's stuff. I keep seeing all the cool stuff that Jason brings home from these things, and I think, well, I'm about to have to dig through his stuff before the show starts.
Yeah, because you can't find any good tools in Texas. I think because
there aren't any in Missouri.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. New folks and returning folks both will be there, and in terms of the attendees festivities, it's going to be a lot of fun as well. The outdoor space allows for us to have, I guess you could call it kind of a beer garden setup. Mm-hmm. So there'll be a bar inside with lots of different types of drinks, and then some great seating outside, and then we'll have most likely two food trucks and a dessert cart will be out in the beer garden.
Ooh, wow, nice,
very nice.
That is nice. Yes, I remember last time you had the food truck, or one or two food trucks, and they were great. It's just that you had to dodge hell to get.
You had to cross the river. Yeah.
But you can't predict the weather. That's always going to be a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was great. So you're also having a raffle there too, correct?
Yeah. There'll be a raffle event and some great prizes that include one that's really interesting this year is a watch. This is from, I believe it's pronounced Jord. So it's a walnut and gunmetal watch. And what was really interesting about this and speaking with them is they didn't tell me about this, but when they sent a custom wooden box that says Texas Woodworking Festival on it. So you get a custom box to display this really cool wooden watch.
Cool.
So that'll be one of the prizes.
And the winner is Austin Waldo.
Hey. Well, yeah. I have had it sitting in my bedroom for a year, but I haven't opened it. I haven't stolen the watch, I promise.
What are the costs for the tickets for the raffle?
So you get one included with your ticket, and then we will have some extras available. The schools booth is going to be kind of the schools booth, and then the store. We'll have T-shirts and things like that, and so we'll sell additional raffle tickets there, probably for only a couple bucks. But you get one with your ticket included.
Excellent. So everybody gets a chance just for attending.
Yep.
Not bad.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, and we try to give you a little bit of stuff with the ticket. We don't want people to feel like we're just taking money. But yeah, you get a raffle ticket, you get a drink token, and you get some cool swag as well as if you're one of the first 250 people at the event.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, yeah, you got to be one of the first 250. Yeah. So you also have Heartwood Tools is also giving away some stuff.
Yeah. And there's
as part of the raffle, yeah.
Yeah. There's a funny story with this I'll tell you afterwards. But so you get a choice of a H&T Gordon spoke shave, mm-hmm. or an H&T Gordon smoothing plane, or a flow rip dovetail saw. And the story is originally when I had spoken with Leslie, the oars were left out. And I was like, wow, Leslie, that is just too generous. You are setting somebody up with some amazing hand tools. Like, oh, that's amazing. But you get to pick one of those.
Okay.
Okay. Your choice of the following. That's still, any one of them would be great. All of them would be really great, but I'd settle for one. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's also great just to be able to pick because, all these are great tools, but if you have a spoke shave, you have a spoke shave, mm-hmm. and so you may not have a smoothing plane or a dovetail saw. So it's great to be able to pick for what you might actually need.
Well, you can never have too many spoke shaves.
I was just going to mention that you have that problem.
I think I've got 5 or 6 of them. That's probably close to enough, but
yeah, that's normal.
That's just a starter
I'd
set
certainly
right
take
there.
Another one if I had to. Yeah.
And then who else do you have? You got some slabs?
Yeah. Chris Burns from Harvest Lumber Company is going to be donating a slab, and that's very much a what trees have they received in the month prior. So we don't know exactly what that'll be, but he usually prioritizes a really, really nice slab for us. I think the 2019 it was a really gorgeous walnut slab.
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
So that'll be up for grabs. And then a Rubio Monocoat starter kit. So that includes a little bit of merchandise, then a whole bunch of samples and information about Rubio and how to use it, and then all the different colors and mixers. And so it's a great way to learn more about the product if you're looking to get into it.
Yeah, I'm interested about that. I'm going to stop by their booth definitely because I'm familiar with Osmo, but I really haven't delved into Rubio very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great one. And then a tool from Texas Toolcraft. So Kevin deals in Festool and SawStop.
Okay.
And he had originally donated a sander, but as we know, the supply chain with tools has been crazy, and Festool is very, very far behind. So he's trying to get several different tools in stock, and based on which ones he can actually get in time, that'll be the tool that he will donate.
Okay, so it's definitely a domino then.
We'll just say it's a mystery Festool.
That wouldn't be bad.
Yes. All right. Well, that is fantastic. So
I'd like to throw something in.
Uh-oh.
I'd like to throw in a set of Moxon jaws.
Okay.
So I need to get some photos for you. Well, I'll just get some photos to you and put them in there. But I've got some. I think I've got one that's a maple that's got the lamb's tongue on it and everything. It's a really. If not, I'll get one made now and then.
Well, that sounds great. That's very generous of you.
Yeah. I just couldn't. I always forget that I have some small things that I make that aren't, enormous things that I can give away. So, yeah, thanks for reminding me.
All righty. Well, fantastic. Well, before we leave you, we cannot talk about the Texas Woodworking Festival without mentioning all the great sponsors you have. So tell us a little bit about who's actually sponsoring the show.
Yeah. So, a lot of events have sponsors, but the reason why I actually love to thank our sponsors is because they're the ones that are actually helping us expand the event. Mm-hmm. So the logistics of the event, those come a year before we ever have the event. So it's really helpful to get sponsors on board to help us plan the event and grow it each year. So big thank you to our platinum sponsor, which is Woodcraft. And then we have a gold level, and that is the Texas chapter of the Urban Wood Network, and Dakota Hardwoods, Panterouter, Shaper, and Felder.
Wow. And
as well, on the silver level, Heartwood Tools, ShopBot, and Osmo. So all those companies have really helped us this year to expand the event, and hopefully as we expand the event into next year, which we have lots of cool ideas for what we want to do, we can get some more help and have an awesome event for the Texas community again.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, those sponsorships are fantastic. And one of the things that I always thought was very interesting is you do not get to see some of these tools ever in person. You always see them online. So this is a great opportunity to not only come and have a good time, but actually go to these booths and see some of these boutique makers, as well as some of the more esoteric folks like Felder and stuff, and see some of their tools and actually lay your hands on them, Beak.
For sure. Yeah. We like to make sure that we can make sawdust at the event. So
exactly,
you'll be able to get your hands on some stuff.
Well, speaking of which, so the Texas Woodworking Festival helps support the Austin School of Furniture, and I think I accidentally earlier said Furniture and Design. You have rebranded that, I guess, a little bit to Austin School of Furniture. But tell us a little bit about what's going on with the Austin School of Furniture. I know y'all were a little bit challenged during the last year and a half during the pandemic. So how did that go, and how's it going now?
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
If you've taken a class at the old school, you know that the space was quite small, and so we tend to pack in the benches just because that was what the space that we had. So with everything going on, it was very difficult for us to be able to feel like we were providing a safe environment with everything going on and not really knowing what was going on. And so we paused in-person classes all the way back in April. Mm-hmm. And, we're really just trying to figure out what to do at that point. So we were lucky enough that we'd actually been doing online classes for a couple years with our SketchUp class. So we leaned more into that, offered more classes. And we built another website that is our essentially like our video platform, if you want to call it that. Mm-hmm. And that's the Austin School of Furniture .online. So we filmed our own project classes, provided measured drawings and schematics, as well as written instructions, things like that, mm-hmm. where you can purchase a project and get everything you need to make either a stool, a chair, whatever it might be, and follow along at your own pace whenever you'd like to do that. So that helped. We did T-shirt campaigns.
I was about to say, y'all were a little bit ahead of the curve on these on-demand classes just because of that. So that's fantastic. I guess that kind of helped, or at least y'all had experience in that because I know so many schools kind of try to transition into that, mm-hmm. and without at least dabbling in it for a little while, that's a hard transition.
Yeah, and I think we were lucky in the sense that was what my background was in. We were able to do that and mm-hmm. spin it up very quickly, and that's something that we'll keep doing, which is great because it's kind of residual income that helps the school out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's fantastic, and plus, I guess Patrick can continue to contribute to your online curriculum.
No, that's very true. Yeah, he has a camera set up, and so he's gonna film some classes, and we are working on a class with another teacher in Pennsylvania right now that has been filmed the class, and I'm editing the videos, and so it will kind of allow for us to expand the reach of the classes and who's teaching for us on the online website.
Fantastic. That is great. So with all the online and on-demand classes that y'all have, and y'all have a big library of on-demand classes. So if people are interested in some of that learning, I highly encourage you to reach out and go to the website AustinSchoolOfFurniture.com and check out their on-demand classes. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I think I haven't signed up for one of them, but need to go back in there and start taking it. I got busy for some reason with some other stuff, but I know y'all have it. I think I signed up for the Kumiko class, but anyway.
Yeah. And the online on-demand courses, it's Austin School of Furniture.online. So just
okay. Sorry.
The ending is different between the two websites, but you can get to either one from both of them. So.
Okay. Fantastic. Now, so tell us about, so now that we're kind of breathing a sigh of relief here, and experimenting with going into places without mask on, tell us about in-person classes. So are y'all looking at getting those started back up?
For sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. With all of the online stuff, that essentially gave us a runway to get to the end of our lease. So we were able to ride out the rest of our lease and then give up that lease and essentially go all online while all the pandemic stuff happened. And now getting to this point, we're ramping things back up. And we are currently in a real estate search and are very close towards the end of that, hopefully, where we'll be able to have a new space. And then as soon as it's ready, we will ramp back up into in-person classes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
How exciting.
Yeah. I'm ready.
I imagine so.
I think you're going to have quite a turnout at the festival.
Yes. Yeah, I hope so.
I don't know how ticket sales are going to this point, but I think we're all ready.
Yeah, they're going well. It's hard to tell, since this is 2 years of sales. And that was one thing that we learned last year was, well, we're all woodworkers and we like to procrastinate. So a lot of people bought tickets the day of.
Right.
Which I will say, don't do that this year. Buy your tickets online. You can pick how much you pay, because if you buy it the day of, you won't be able to pick how much you pay. And you also have to wait in line. So I do recommend people to get that ahead of time.
Yes. Well, yeah, we are woodworkers. We procrastinate. But then when the event shows up, we're there like 2 hours early.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. We're never late for the opening bell.
Never.
That's so true. Yeah. Well, hopefully, I think it should be a really big event. Lots of fun. But yeah, if people can get their tickets ahead of time, you'll be able to skip the line, hopefully, or at least have your own line where we can get people in quicker.
Right. Exactly. And hopefully by the time you get in there, I haven't between me and Mark, we haven't bought everything that Dowd has. But anyway. I remember last time I was.
Can't get very many home.
Yeah. No, they were very, very good last time because, I did peruse what Dowd was putting out, but there were no sales before the folks came.
At least that's what we tell everybody.
No. It was good. It was good.
Never mind the fact that you were standing at the table with your money in your hand when they opened the door.
Well, what was so funny is I was with Patrick and I go, well, as soon as it opens, you need to run up there and buy this giant axe he had, this giant carver's axe. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yep. Yeah. And he did.
Yes, he did.
Do you think I could carry on something like that?
Oh, not a problem. Well, with all that, so besides Austin School of Furniture and the Texas Woodworking Festival, so what have you been up to woodworking?
Yeah. So several months ago, I started working with April Wilkerson. If you haven't heard of her, head over to YouTube.
I was like, what do you live under?
I've heard of April. I still don't know this Philip Morley. Is that right? This Philip Morley guy? Yeah. Anyway, April, I know.
And so she's great. She lives here in Texas, not too far away, and was connected to her actually through Philip. And I've met her several times and know her from different events and things like that. But
I think she's a veteran. She needs that challenge coin because she was at the first one. We won't say where it was, but yes.
Yeah. And she's coming back, and she helps out the festival every year and comes to it. And so I'm working with her to essentially design plans for Rockler.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So if you go on their website, not only do they have great tools and hardware, but they also have plans for different types of woodworking projects that you can buy. And so I'm now working with April for Rockler to design kind of some new sets of furniture and outdoor items, all different types of projects, all revolving around woodworking.
Oh, that is fantastic.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. Rockler is really starting to branch out into to getting into the social media, if that's the right word for woodworking, social media. But anyway, they have. So that is fantastic that you're working with April on getting those in there because, we have a local Rockler and I go in there all the time. And they do have a little area with plans. But, you look at them and they do look a little bit dated. So, yeah, this should be good.
Yeah, it's fun because it's not just woodworking. It's actually a lot of design work, and I get to take photos. Unfortunately, the photos are of myself, so you'll have to deal with my ugly mug on the plans. But it's fun because I have a little remote control for my camera, and I have to pretend like I'm routing and take a photo and do it when actually cut the pieces off camera usually and things like that.
Right.
But then get to stage everything afterwards, which is kind of fun, and trying to launch my dog's modeling career by posing her in the photos, things like that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So all of these are within your own home shop then?
Yeah. And it's eventually when the school reopens, I will close my home shop, as my wife has called dibs on it for a garage office. But it's nice because most of the Rockler clientele are probably working from a similar setup in a garage to have a simple garage setup. And given that the tools are pretty decent in my garage and even have a little bit of a CNC machine in there, so it's on the higher end of a garage setup, but still a single car garage, and all those tools are great for beginners.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, that's great. That's great. So, is there anything else that we failed to mention that we should have mentioned?
The one thing that I think is going to be very interesting and that I'd like people to know about this particular venue is parking is going to be a bit tricky. And by tricky, I mean it doesn't exist. If you've been anywhere,
so it's going to be a miracle.
Yeah. And, parking doesn't exist for the venue. So it's downtown Austin. There's tons of parking garages and parking lots. It's a very, very, very walkable area, but it's not something like Palmer Event Center where they have this giant parking garage. That's one of the trade-offs with this particular venue, but it's a really, really fun area. It's very, very walkable, but I recommend you bike, you ride share, public transit, or plan out your parking ahead of time. And we're going to send out a parking map that will help folks, but I just want everybody to realize that's not a super car-friendly location.
Yes. I've heard of this thing called Uber. Do you have that in Austin?
U is silent, I believe. It's just Burr.
Burr. Okay. Okay. I've never tried it, but I've heard about it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. And, I have a secret parking garage in downtown Austin that I won't tell anybody about, but, if you DM me, maybe.
No, your car's full, man.
It is full, but.
That's the Uber of which I was speaking. I mean, the Burr.
The Burr.
It's pronounced Kyle.
Yeah. K-Burr. Yeah. Okay, fantastic.
I'm really hoping to see or even get photos of somebody riding a Lime scooter with like a Texas Woodworking Festival bag and like a saw sticking out of it after the event. That's the sign of a successful event if we can get one of those.
I was going to mention those, but anyway. Y'all still have the Lime? They haven't totally all been trashed yet?
I think there's still a few hanging around downtown.
Okay. All right. Boy, I remember those back a few years ago, but it's been a while since I've been in Austin. It's been at least 2 years since I've been in Austin, so I didn't know if those were still a thing or not. But with that said, let's move on to our fortnightly beer choices.
Heck yeah.
So I'm back to the Barton household staple, which is the Karbach Hopadillo IPA. I think, Sean, you've had one of those.
I do believe I have.
So
it's a good one. It's summertime after all, although in Texas, isn't it always?
Especially now, yes. I mean, boy, it's been horrendously hot here for the past week or so. I mean, this is like August, late August weather we've gotten in early June. Like, holy crap. But anyway, we're all acclimatized now. Bring out the IPAs. So, Sean, what are you working on?
So as I mentioned, it's summer officially. So I picked up a shandy, and I don't really love shandies. It's a little too sweet for me. But local to the Cleveland, Ohio area, not exactly my backyard, but in Ohio nonetheless, a brewery called Market Garden puts out a lemon shandy, and it's a standard shandy. If you don't know, shandy is literally fruit juice and beer. So it's lemonade and beer.
Yeah.
And it's good for the summertime. I'm in my basement, but it's good for the summertime.
It's very sessionable.
It's hugely sessionable, except for the cloying sweetness after a few. Yeah. You don't need, if you're on a diet, I wouldn't suggest it. There's lower calorie things to have.
Well, fantastic.
So, Mark, how about you?
I discovered Dogfish Head Hazy IPA, which has like 4 different kinds of oat stuff in it, and it is oaty. There's like oat milk and roasted oats and I don't know, toasted oats, whatever. But it's not bad. It's it's got the oats do change the flavor a bit. So everything gets compared to Hazy Little Thing, and I don't know if I like it better than Hazy Little Thing, but it's definitely something I'd consider buying again.
I think I have to do a side-by-side. I am a unabashed fan of Dogfish Head. Pretty much anything they produce, yes. I really do enjoy. So they know how to do it right. So I'd be interested between the two. Take nothing away from, is it Lagunitas, the Hazy Little Thing? Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's Sierra Nevada.
Oh, Sierra Nevada.
And I, anytime I see a hazy IPA, that's the first thing I try. If I'm in a little brewery or something like that. So, that's kind of like the genre that I've fallen into in the last year or two. But I don't know. It's good. There's some Dogfish that I can't drink, but this one is definitely a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Austin, are you enjoying a beverage tonight?
I am. Yeah, you're not the only one that's fallen into the hazy hole. I'm drinking I live a couple blocks away from a brewery called the St. Elmo Brewery, and they have a beer called Trinity, which is a West Coast hazy IPA.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I'll have to send you some money to bring me a crowler.
Yeah.
Show. Or are they going to be at the bar?
I don't know. Essentially we have a caterer that's going to work on getting the beers ahead of time. I doubt they can enough for the caterer. They're going to be distributing cans into cups, something with how it works with TABC, but I doubt St. Elmo cans. They do can, and I'm drinking one of their cans, but not enough to be distributed to a caterer like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it will be local craft beer. So.
Oh,
excellent.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Well, looking forward to it. But in the meantime, where can folks find you, Austin?
In Austin, Texas.
Yes.
But if they want to learn more about the Woodworking Festival, they can head to the TexasWoodworkingFestival.com. If they want to learn more about the school, that's at AustinSchoolOfFurniture.com. The online on-demand courses are at AustinSchoolOfFurniture.online. And on Instagram, those can be found at Texas Woodworking Festival, so at Texas Woodworking Festival, and then the school is at Austin School of Furniture on Instagram.
Fantastic. Mark, what about yourself?
Well, my website is plate11.com. I am Mark Builds It on Instagram, and I am at Plate11 Woodworking on YouTube. Kyle, how about you?
You can find me at Barton.Kyle on Instagram or Kyle Barton on YouTube, and I've released 2 videos in the last couple of weeks. Mark, I know you need a little catch up here.
Yeah, Kyle, I gotta say, I want you to voice over every video I ever do.
No.
I just love it. I love the, well, we've got you set up for this jig. It's really, really nice. It's so smooth. It's like, yeah, I love it.
All right, well, fantastic. I'll be happy to do that. One of my friends commented on it. He's not a woodworking guy. He goes, "Oh, you got the NPR voice working there, don't you, Kyle?"
My friends tell me I put them to sleep with the voiceover in my videos. So, it's a little different thing.
The dulcet tones of Kyle.
Anyway, yeah. So, Sean, what about yourself?
You? Oh, no.
I'm blushing now, but anyway.
Oh my gosh, please. No, I don't have a good voiceover voice. I'm a Sean W78 on most of the social medias. You go find me there. And so once you're tired of Mark and happy with Kyle, don't look for me. I don't have YouTube videos, but maybe someday if I ever find a reason for it.
Rocketry.
Have you guys ever thought about doing maybe maybe for some significant episode doing a video podcast?
Oh, no one wants to see us in real life.
Yeah, we have faces for podcasting.
The old radio face. Okay. All right.
If you want to see us in real life, then come to the Texas Woodworking Festival.
Yes. I have some things to say about that in the reviews section.
Well,
there you go.
Yeah. Speaking of which, do we have any reviews, Mark?
We do. And y'all have come through. We've collected a few new reviews, both on Apple Podcasts and on Instagram. I don't know why it didn't occur to me that you could comment on our Instagram posts. We have an Instagram page, right? What is it? MWA Podcast at MWA Podcast.
Yeah, it's MWA _podcast.
_podcast. Yeah. So if you don't want to go through the hassle of creating a username and going all that stuff, just comment on the episodes as they come out on our feed, and I'll go through and pull that stuff out, and you might hear your name mentioned on our podcast. It's this week's review comes from Woodworking Practice, and Woodworking Practice actually left a review on Apple Podcasts, and it goes like this. I'm an ongoing basement freeloader listener to the podcast. The guilt is deep. I haven't donated to your podcast or mailed you any electric jellyfish IPA from Pint House Pizza Brewery. I haven't made it to a woodworking festival yet. My plans have been foiled the last 2 years. Well, Woodworking Practice, you are set on so many levels. We've got Patreon. You can donate to that right now. Go out there and do it now. I know you're listening. So you can get rid of that guilt. you can bring beer to the Texas Woodworking Festival because I will be there and Kyle will be there. So, bring us some beer and pizza. That sounds good too. That sounds great. While you're there, you can fulfill the third goal on your list, which is to get to the Texas Woodworking Festival. So we will see you in Austin. And thank you for the review. I really appreciate it. So this is a conversation. We need to hear your voice.
Yes.
So leave comments at Apple Podcasts. Leave comments at Instagram. We love to get them.
And if you do show up woodworking practice, guaranteed a spot on the podcast. Record there.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. I think I know. I think Woodworking Practice left a comment on my Instagram page. I'll have to go back and see if I can find out who that is. Or you can just send us a message directly. So let us know.
I think I know who it is, but anyway.
Okay.
And that just about wraps it up for this show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the show on the podcatcher of your choice. Just search for the Modern Woodworkers Association. And while you're there, please leave us a review. You can follow us on Instagram at MWA_podcast. And if you'd like to support the podcast, go over to patreon.com/MWA podcast. But the best thing you can do is tell a friend. Word of mouth goes a long way in sharing our discussion.